Everyone, and we'd like to welcome you to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. And am I correct in saying the air conditioner is working again?
It's off right
It's
It's
off,
not,
but
it's
it's
not working today. It's taking a break.
I didn't think it.
All right, anyway, welcome to the meeting here. With us today, we have Kelly, I see. We have Karen from the Local Access, and we have Teresa, I believe, from CAMAQ. Luann, our executive assistant, is in the background here, of course, with us. Larry is so fortunate, is on his way to Colorado. So it's Jack Willie and myself, Mike Steinish, your county supervisors today. And also with us, very important with us, is Lisa, our county auditor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. We will start with Todd Kinney, our county interim engineer, and Mike Clausing, our assistant engineer. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
The first thing I have is we have 3 projects that are getting ready to be sent into the DOT, and we have the title sheets that need to be signed. The first project is STBG-swap-CO 49 parent 83-FG-49. That's the Z34 project, the Goose Lake Road to connect up with
Preston, the Clinton County.
Clinton County there. It's a HMA resurfacing. Like the board to approve those plans and sign them.
So moved.
I'd second. I have a motion and a second to approve the resurfacing project of 418th Avenue as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. When did you guys resurface, Todd?
That one was
Last year?
Huh?
Last year you did that one? Okay.
Okay, next.
Like in November. We're still paving.
The next project is FM-CO 49 parent 84-S55-49. That's the Z20 project from Spragueville North, 3.5 miles. It's an asphalt overlay over the existing concrete pavement. That's the board to approve.
So moved.
I'd second that motion, and I have a motion and a second to approve the resurface project on 387th Avenue as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And the last one is a bridge project. It's BROS-swap-CO 49 parent 81-SE-49. It's a 400th Street bridge replacement. It's a bridge just north of St. Denis there at the county line, going to the west. The old pony truss there we're going to replace next year.
So moved.
I got a question. Is this the one that we talked about? Is this the day bridge type thing with the plank, or this is,
This is designed by IAW, so this
Okay.
is a contract labor bridge.
and is it concrete deck then? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would second that motion. All those, I have a motion and a second to approve I'm a little out of sync here with the second, and somebody stop me if I misquote.
We will. We'll throw something.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 400th Street Bridge Replacement Project as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, and next we have a couple driveway permits for Devin Schmidt. They're both in Fairfield Township, Section 1. It's a farm entrance along 400th Avenue. They're both along there. They both meet site distance. I guess we'll ask the board to approve both driveways.
Two separate driveways, though, correct?
They're 2 separate driveways. Yeah.
So moved.
Second, I have a motion and a second to approve 2 separate driveway permits on 400th Avenue for Devin Schmidt as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, then I guess the next thing is secondary road balance carryover that Todd's been working on.
So what do you have? Do you have this in front of you?
I have that in front of us.
Where did I put it?
Okay, so I guess the short version would be if you just turn to the sheet that's got the multiple from fiscal year columns, fiscal year 2009 to fiscal year 2021. If you look at the very bottom, the line that's shaded in green, carryover fund balance, that is our extra money each year.
Yep.
So you can see how that tracks over from 2009 to 2020 in actual numbers. 2021 is obviously just projected.
Fictitious, yeah.
So then the next line down, the fund balance percent of expense. So basically that is your carryover balance, what percentage of your expenses, what is that percentage? So that, varies from, looks like a low of about 26 to a high of around 53%. Okay, so that's your actuals, what it's been. And now the next two lines down are just kind of, I guess, proposed or sample percentages if you want to look at numbers. So if you're shooting for a 30% carryover, 30% of your expenses carried over every year as a contingency fund, if you will. So starting in 2016, that would have been the dollar amount extra funds you would have had to spend would have been $747,000. 2017, 1.254 million, and so on and so on. So that's what the extra money to spend would have been if you were trying to keep 30% of your expenses as a contingency fund. So the last line down is just the same calculation, the same, showing you the same number, but instead of 30% of your expenses, you drop that down and you're going to carry over 25% of your expenses. So that number goes up, obviously, because you're spending more of that balance down. So long story short, if you look at the very last column, you're somewhere between 720,000 and 372,000, whether you do 25 or 30%. So that's the discussion today is what number in my recommendation, I would not go below 25%. 30% is a substantial amount of money. So, 30% of almost 7 million in expenses, that's 2.1 million. So even if you had a really bad spring, well, for instance, you can go to snow and ice, okay? Go to line 712, okay? And look, in 19, we had a really bad winter, right? Really bad winter. 618,000. And if you look, that's only about, maybe not even 200,000 over what you would typically see in any winter. So that's 200,000 in a very, very poor winter, right? So you say you had a bad spring or some flooding, more than likely you're going to be maybe another 200,000 in that. So if you had stacked up bad winter, bad spring, bad flooding, maybe you might be 600 to 800 to maybe even $1 million into your budget of your carryover. But still at 30%, you're at 2.1 million. You still have another 1 million. The other thing you want to consider is when you switch over from June to July, I don't know about you guys, but we have a lot of expenditures in July because we're hauling rock, we're doing work.
Sure.
So you got to have a little bit of a money in your checking account basically to pay bills.
Carryover.
So you got to keep that in mind as well. But worst case, I think still at $1.5 million in carryover, you can cover a lot of bad things,
Oh,
happen.
absolutely you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always heard 25% is the number you're looking at. But, if you get to 23, if you get to 22, and 30 sounds excessive to me. I mean, but if we stay somewhere close to that 25, I would say yes. So this 021 number is also a projection, correct? So that 372 at 30% is a projection.
That's correct.
So am I saying correctly this 878 under 2020 that's, could be the possible, what we have to work with for extra projects. Is that what I'm looking at?
No, that's an actual, so that,
Yeah.
so what that is if, say, for instance, you were doing this thought process last year, you basically, if you were only gonna keep 30% of your expense, your actual expense, you would have had 878,000 extra to spend in fiscal year 20. So that's an actual number.
So is that actual number basically what we're looking at now that we can spend for extra projects? Have we looked at the 2 bridges and the patching project and such? Somewhere in that range?
So, well, right now, there's 2 ways you can look at this. Right now, we're basing this off of a carryover fund balance. So you're projected, right now, you're projecting to spend $300,000 more than you're gonna have in revenue for 21, okay? So that's why, 2.79 drops to 2.49, because you're spending down that balance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if we use your projected carryover fund balance of 2.49 million, and you wanna end up with only 25% of carryover left with respect to your proposed expenses, you could spend an additional 720,000. Because your carryover balance as it sits right now, we just submitted your annual report. Stacy and I just got that done, or Stacy got it done. I just reviewed it and sent it in. It's 2.792 million. So that's what you have extra right now.
Okay. And how are we proceeding with the projects that we spoke about? I mean,
The patching
250th,
project,
yeah.
yeah, that's been sent out. I've heard from a couple of the contractors already that they're interested.
Are they interested not this fall
Quotes are
yet?
due the 20, what'd you say, the 29th?
The 29th.
So we're getting quotes on the patching September 29th.
Yeah.
We'll have that dollar amount. You guys can look at that and say whatever that is. Say it's 400, say it's $500,000. You could potentially have 220,000 left, or you could say that's all we want to spend, that's all we want to do.
Okay. And as far as the other couple bridges we talked about, did you get a chance to look at that concrete deck one? It's right down your area.
What was it?
It was, where is that one, Mike?
You're
It's-
spending money here.
Miles?
We go look at it.
The miles, yeah. We looked at that again.
Yeah?
The sufficiency rating, I had that wrong on that sheet.
Oh,
The
awesome.
sufficiency rating was
So it
higher.
went up, right?
But it is one of the bridges that was suggested for replacement within 5 years because the piling are starting to crush
I see.
under there. There's nothing wrong with the deck or anything like that. It's all in the pile.
Yeah, I was just kind of simply confused at the fact that there was no weight limit on it and it looked really good. That's all I can see. It looks good and there's no weight limit. That, to me, that means there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, the majority of the majority of the bridges that we have issues with, it's the piling that we're having issues with and not the
You
deck.
gotta walk under it.
Of course, we had one, with no weight limit on it either. That's no longer there. So that's,
Well,
And that was
it there, so
that was
there
piling.
was.
problems
Yeah,
there.
that
It's out of the water now.
Oh, it's out of water now?
yeah, it's on the
Still
line.
doesn't have a weight limit though.
You gotta Dukes have it.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I went to the one south of Springville, somewhere there too. Is that the one? That was a small one. That's the one we talked about, Todd. Maybe I got it right here. I guess that's the one we talked that maybe, or Mike, that could be a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we were talking earlier this morning, Alex came up and is surveying, got the cross section for those. So once he gets the hydraulics done, we'll know the span. Well, I shouldn't say the span. We will know the type of structure, and if it's a bridge, we'll know the span that it needs to be.
Yeah.
So if he thinks he can get it done with based on the hydraulics, we can get done with a concrete box, then we'll know that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why I guess I would, so your efficiency rating on the 525th Avenue Bridge went up.
It should be 60.
Oh, it should be 60 instead of 27. Okay, then we would lean more toward the 216.
The 27th was actually on another bridge in Iowa Township.
Okay.
Wrong one when I looked at them.
so look, our first pick was the FA 3501. That's what I have in my notes.
Yes,
Second pick was the Iowa 2053, and the third pick was the Bell 2088.
yeah, and so we're now maybe swapping 2 and 3 for our picks? Is that correct in saying that?
We might hold off on the Iowa one. This time.
I mean, that would be, sounds logical with the tonnage limit on there and the road count and sufficiency rating, then considerably different, yeah.
27 to 60, that's easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, and compared to the other one then is already at 38 and the road count is higher also. Much
Was it
higher.
L Road? Was it?
That's just a road that, I mean, this guy's called. The hell road is actually just a local thing, so I know where it's at.
Gotcha.
It's east.
You know where the horse stands in the field right there in the corner? That's where you turn.
Next to the red barn.
Yeah, we got the same.
It's next to the red bar.
They'll use somebody's name that hasn't been alive for 100 years.
Yeah.
So it's something. Okay. So, yeah, we got, I'm guessing with the money we're gonna have to spend, you're probably not gonna get more than 2 bridges done anyway.
Right.
But we just need to, we'll get the, like I said, we'll get the patching put in. We'll know kind of what that's gonna be, what we'll have left, but it really kind of depends on how much you want to spend into that balance. And then we'll-
Right. Well, we'll know more when we get the bid.
Sure.
back, yeah.
And give us an idea.
Yeah, so if we
Yeah.
we'll get the quotes back, we'll get the hydraulics done, we'll know the type size, and that'll give us an idea on the cost for the bridges, then we kind of have all the pieces and you can put it together at that point.
Awesome.
Some interesting figures in here, isn't it? When you really look at this,
Well, if you go back 10 years like that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's our 12 years basically.
there's just some really interesting.
And it fluctuates some, yeah. I mean, when you're at a 53%, what did we do? What did we do then?
Or what did we not do?
What?
The low was 26.
Yeah, that was
The
back.
road use tax fund went from 2.6 million all the way up to 4.1, 4.2. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Stacy puts this spreadsheet.
Yeah.
She's had this going for quite a few years, as you can see. She does.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so like, I do something similar, and then I'll show like, for instance, everybody wants to know like how much ditch cleaning we do or rock hauling, so I'll do a graph of that track. A lot of it is, you'll see a jump in certain years, but some of it is just, you know, the CPI goes up, so what you pay for rock or what you pay for anything goes up. But the one graph that was kind of interesting, if you look at your expenses versus your carryover, they almost mirror each other as they go up, which kind of just means you've been pretty consistent with your carryover balance percentages or with respect to with the expenses. But talking to Mike, it looks, if you just look at the numbers, the carryover fund balance should be going up slightly every year because technically your expenses are going up because of CPI. But the real question is what differential do you want that to be? What percentage do you want that to be? So the question is this, as we do this, the gap between these two lines should narrow. They should track parallel, basically.
Yeah.
The gap should narrow, basically.
Okay, any other fun news? We haven't heard back from IIW for our damage.
We're patching up on Bernard Road, which started yesterday.
They're done on the Belly Cascade? Who's patching?
Midwest Contractors.
Oh, are they again?
They're
Didn't
back.
they patch that last year?
They did part of it. They did what was on the plans, and we had an extra 2,000 yards marked, and they wanted to come back this year to finish that.
Okay,
So we're patching the rest of that.
Beautiful.
that's good to know.
Finally.
Yeah.
They aggravated the mailman last year, you know, every time they seen him coming, they turned the signs and stopped. I think they might have aggravated each other, but I'm not sure.
Just like,
What else was there? Something I thought I was gonna ask.
Did you guys did Makokata act on that?
Yeah, well, We have well, let's see. Who do we get to report from? You?
It was our understanding that it was on the agenda last Tuesday night.
Yeah, it
We wanted
was.
to be discussing it, and I think you had talked to Gerald.
Yeah, I talked to Gerald, he said they didn't have any issues, nobody at the city hall did, they were waiting their attorney to get back to them, but as long as he didn't have any really big issues with it, he didn't see any issue with it getting approved by the council, so.
That's the last I've heard.
We haven't heard there's an issue, how's that?
Good.
Okay.
I just need to know, because once it gets approved, then I need to reach out to the DOT, because how we set up the funding agreement, I just need to let them know that the city is gonna be the lead agency, and then I wanna set it up so your FM funds pay for any overages over the $1 million, so then nothing should hit the local fund here.
I would assume that the article about their city council meeting should be in tomorrow's Macoka paper.
But with that being said, is it something maybe you want to touch base with Gerald again? Was there any issues, or do you
Yeah, I
want
can always
Luann to
call.
touch base, or?
No, I'll just call him
Yeah.
and just see,
Yeah.
it's like, if there's issues, if it got voted down, I'm
Then we need to know.
assuming
You
you
would
would
have thought
contact.
he would have contacted us, or
Yeah.
the engineer's office and said, hey.
One other thing too, I talked to you about the site distance checks, we get done for the one driveway.
Yeah.
And I reviewed, Mike sent me your sign policy. And I got to thinking about that. The sign policies, similar to ours, is Clinton County, is that it deals with when you're gonna provide maintenance or replacement on certain types of signs. And then it talks about how you're gonna maintain the minimum retroreflectivity of the sign. I think if you're gonna make a change or a written policy to the minimum site distance things, I think that probably needs to go in your entrance policy. So I feel like, is this a bigger issue for entrances? Is the most time this comes up? Site distances, it has to do with when people want to put driveways and where they put them. So if you're gonna put a caveat to saying, you want to add, if you don't meet, say, 110% or 120% of the minimum or whatever that is, that almost needs to go in your entrance policy, not necessarily in your sign maintenance policy, because I don't think it's the proper place for it, but that's up to you guys. We can put it in the traffic sign maintenance policy, but to me, every time you want to look at that or look it up, it's going to be because of a driveway.
Well, it relates to a new entrance, basically, so it makes sense to have it into the entrance, to me anyway, I guess. I don't.
Well, to me also, but these are kind of long-term entrances that have been around for a long time that was dealing with now.
Yeah.
With that request.
It's up to you guys, but I would suggest that you put it in your entrance policy that, because I'm assuming your entrance policy talks about minimum site distance, which if it doesn't, it should. And then right where it says that in the policy, you could say, if it does not meet 110% of the minimum or 120 or whatever it is, either to my opinion, the driveway should be moved, or if it's an existing driveway, then then at that point, you could look at putting warning signs up. But ideally, you'd want to avoid a situation where a new driveway doesn't meet, obviously, the minimum site distance.
Oh, absolutely.
You okay with that, Mike, is having that in the entrance policy?
That works.
Okay, we'll check that out and see what we need to do.
So as far as the carryover, I guess we'll just wait until the quotes come in for the
Yeah,
patching, and then we'll revisit this. So,
Larry
Okay, so-
should be back by then too, so.
well, it's 2 weeks, right?
Well, he's not coming back till the 28th.
Really?
Yeah.
Must be dead. Sorry. All right, thank you.
And I think he took off a day early, so he didn't have to be here today.
Well, why wouldn't you, right?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather. Enjoy it. Okay. Are there any visitors or citizens have any comments for us today? They don't see any? Kimberly, no?
She came in and she said,
Lisa is, what, how have you,
Yes, we're ready.
oops,
She'll be right there.
okay.
Ready now.
And where do I have Lisa? Right here.
Here's some interesting figures.
Well, the 12 years is something to look at, you know.
It's
Fluctuates. There's Kimberly.
No morning.
Morning, Kimberly.
Good. Yeah, please.
Welcome. Department updates. Is that what we're looking at today? I had the,
I sent you what I sent to the Board of Health last time.
you did, but I don't have a copy of it here. I read it to the Board of Health, yeah. Is there a copy in our book? I don't either. We need to follow along on it, or? Here we go. Was it the final agenda meeting? And yeah, I think it's here.
If that works for you guys, I'll send that out when
Yeah,
after the meeting, I'll send you the minutes for the Board of Health along with the kind of the agenda packet that was
basically the
finalized.
report that you give to them too, correct?
Is this
Yeah,
the
yes.
report that was September 30th, 19th through December 29th, 2020?
There were two, there was all the minutes, then there was the packet from September 8th.
I have a July 28th.
Yeah, it should be the July 28th to September 8th, 20. I think I had sent the previous one, right? I think we had sent
Okay.
the minutes and then I sent you the final
Yeah,
agenda.
July 28th.
So,
Okay,
all right.
fire away.
Well, basically, I let them know that, we're gonna be digitizing those health department records, this winter. When things kind of slow down, we'll be able to do that. That was budgeted for, we had put that in the budget for this year,
In-house, or you're gonna hire it?
hire it out. So, and we put that was all in the budget when we did it. So, let them kind of know with the air conditioning situation that there was quite a bit of, working like out in the field. Obviously, it's a busy time of year, but did some stuff from home and from the car and things like that. So that wasn't in the office quite as much. Got a little bit behind on some stuff, but now that the weather's cooled down, I think I'm all caught up again. So let's see. As far as the DFC grant, I believe there's a new contract that's coming out between ASAC and the county. Julie just got it out. I think she sent it to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on next week's agenda.
Okay, good. I don't know if you guys have any, I have some water samples scheduled for next week, so I won't be there. If you guys have any questions, I think it's all just pretty much standard, and I think the only thing that changed was the evaluation services. That's no longer required by the grant, so they took that out, save some money. So it's kind of how we're doing that. So she'll be bringing that next week to you guys. The on-site wastewater and pumpers, let's see. Basically, we're working with DNR to make sure we're meeting all the state expectations. They were gonna come and do an audit and work with us on things, the new state guy. With COVID and everything, it kind of got pushed back, so we've done a lot of conference calls and phone calls. But when things get better, we're gonna do some stuff and then hopefully do some trainings for our people as well, so that we can have some more local trainings versus only in Des Moines for our installers. It's been busy with applications and inspections. I think we've received, as of last week, it was 52 applications that we'd received for septic permits. And most of them have all been issued now. We still have some that are in pending statuses because it's partial applications. Some people send their applications in and they wait until the house is closer to do their soil report. So just kind of waiting on that.
So I guess are all these new?
No, some are replacement systems as well.
Yeah, that's what
or
I
like
mean.
from time of
Right,
transfers,
yeah.
things like that. I don't
Has to be
have-
updated or something.
Yeah, so I don't really have it broke down on here. What ones are new construction on my spreadsheet that I have? I try to keep track of what one's new construction versus existing, but I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I do have it on a spreadsheet.
Well, we do know that by this report, we know that we're coming in compliance anyway in more areas. And we also know that there's still new activity going on. So,
Yeah, there's quite a bit of new activity.
yeah, there
going on.
is, yeah.
And I know Ben and I try to work pretty closely, keeping in touch with, like before he issues a building permit. And then I try to work with the assessors too and pass along my stuff to
Info.
them. So that way we're kind of all working together, trying to get the right information.
Everything recorded the way it needs to be.
Yes, like one, that's always a fun task. So let's see. The time of transfer program is going good. We had a lot of new requirements and expectations that came in from the DNR with the new transition. And I sent letters out at the beginning of the season to all of our contractors that I know, and kind of explained, gave some examples, all the new stuff. And anytime somebody new comes into our area, I send them that packet as well. So that's been, I think, pretty helpful for people, so that we're all on the same page about what we're going to do. Once things get going, we were going to have a meeting with some of the attorneys and real estate people regarding these changes, but we're waiting to get back on track of that. So we'll be doing that soon. Let's see.
I think it's good to let them kind of people know so they know what the changes will be, so they know what to expect.
Yeah, and I know they're creating new stuff at the state, so next year we
Could
might have a
change.
whole nother change coming. So we're just I'm trying to keep them all up to date so that it's not because I mean, it was pretty confusing for me to try to figure it out, and we were using some outdated information, and now everybody's using the right forms, using the right stuff, and stuff like that. Let's see, grants to counties. Our quarter 4 report for fiscal year 20 was submitted on July 30th. Then I put that amount in for 8789. And so we had just a little over 5,000 that was unclaimed for that grant. Most of it was due to COVID. We couldn't get out. Water samples are where we recoup most of our grant money and stuff like that. And we weren't going out for, I think it was 2.5 months that we didn't go out and do water samples other than vacant houses. So I reached out to all the contractors and we tried to get as many things as we could, but still had some stuff that we didn't have enough to use. So, but this year it looks like we're right on track to be using all that money, and we should be good. And pretty much I don't think we were the only county in the state that had that issue. So let's see, quarter 1 in September 30th of this grant year. So far we've collected 61 samples. At the time of this report, I think we're up maybe another 5 or so. And our numbers seem very similar to quarter 1 of last year. So I think we're kind of right on track. I am trying to, I kind of mentioned that I sent out to all the well contractors and people that utilize the grants to counties. I sent them an informational packet, forms, all that stuff as well, getting them on board, letting them know how that, hey, we got money, go ahead and use it, when to, maybe check with me to see if there is money, things like that. And we're still making some changes to that program to make it a little easier. And I'm working on some flyers that will go out that we'll have available for homeowners as well as some of the contractors, so that they can pass it out. So I'm going to say promotional brochures, and that's covered by the grant that we can do that. So that's my plan this year, is to create that and have that for the future. So that'll be good. And then water well program, I mean, that's kind of, we got 24 well permits. That's pretty much, we're right on track for where we've been in the past. And animal bites, we got some new forms done. We're working on getting that program. We're working on getting the forms out to the right departments that need them. And we're still I'm trying to organize that program a little bit better to figure out what exactly we need to do and make it, I guess, just improve it.
So does that include municipalities too at all, or yeah?
Yeah, anybody, yeah. So any animal bite, like even at the municipality levels, they send those to us
Okay.
to do something with, and then we're supposed to kind of track it and stuff like that. So we're trying to figure out exactly what needs to be done with that and get us all on the same page. There was, I think, maybe 4 different versions of the forms that were out there, and some people just call. So yeah, we're just trying to get it.
If you go to the reports and it's in the paper, you can track them.
Right, and not getting multiple ones, because sometimes we get multiple ones, and I was like, oh wait, I just did this one. So, and radon, we've sold 4 kits, and I've had some calls on it, but
That's surprising. Do they know that we have them here? And what's the cost? $10? Is that right?
$10 is the cost. I'm not sure who all, we haven't done any promotional stuff. I believe January is the month that usually that gets promoted out. So I'm gonna try to have something so that we.
You know,
have
just
more
for the
available.
$10, I think I'm gonna do mine again. Just thought I had it mitigated last year, but yeah,
Yeah. And we have them available in the office. I think part of it was we got them and then, people weren't coming, the courthouse was closed, and now we're opening back up. I've had a few people stop in. I think, like I said, I've had 4 that were sold. One, I was doing a water sample and they asked about it, and I was like, well, I'll bring it to you when we do your sample.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if anybody,
I mean, it's good to know. I mean, second leading cause of lung cancer, and
yes,
so
exactly. And
people
we
need to be
probably
aware.
do some promotion on that and
Yeah.
let people know.
Yeah.
We weren't sure how that was going to, and I'm still trying to figure out, like, if we get the results or if it just goes to the people. So far, I think it's just going to the owners. We don't actually
Sure.
get it.
Yeah, I don't think you get it. When you fill that little thing out, you got to fill out where you want to.
Yeah, and then they mail it, they get it and they mail it
Yeah.
in and things like that. So, let's see. Then basically I did a couple virtual sessions for some education, trying to keep up with my CEUs. And then the wastewater conference and my environmental health association, those are going to be virtual this year. So I'll be attending those virtually to get my CEUs. Let's see. Budgetary stuff. I was working on fee assessments to kind of compare us to other counties to see where we are at with our permit costs, things like that. Started that. It's on hold now because it's busy time of year. Once things slow down, we'll get back on track with that, and then see if we need to reassess our cost to see if we're, I don't think they've been changed in a very long time. I would have to look and see. But
Well, it's a nice to know where we stand anyway, and I don't know if you can go by size or anything like that, but I think we should be comparable to
yeah, and I mean, I know it's
Delaware or wherever it may be,
yeah, it's all over the board from what I've heard in the state too. So we'll
Oh, really?
look and see where we're at and what works best for our, our community. So once I get those numbers, I'll let you guys know. So, and then I had told them that I was assuming that budgets would be coming out soon. So our next meeting is in November with the Board of Health. So I wasn't sure if there'd be stuff coming out by then that I'd have some numbers of ready for them or not.
That'd be early. I usually try and get it, right before Christmas. Well, you know what? Everything's possible.
Well, and because we meet in November and then we meet in January. So that I know last year it kind of was like, oops, we gotta try to fit that in.
Yeah,
So
I might have to throw an extra one in there, but yeah, I think last year you had it out early though.
We try and get out a little earlier because,
yeah. So, but yeah, so as soon as I told them I'd try to bring those numbers if they were available, and if we have to do something in December, I'll let them know that at that time. So
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. When you have all of these septic systems that you're working on, are you able to utilize the gizmo? Does the gizmo work?
because the gizmo was set up, the GPS. Sorry.
I wasn't really sure of the terminology.
So we set it up he went out and did all the data collection for Major Lake and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And Thomas had started to work on the setup so that I'm going to say in the GIS thing, computer program, he was setting up all the background stuff so that I'd be able to use it, but it wasn't all the way. That was what we had budgeted for an intern this year. And the intern, which was going to be shared with GIS, was to finish setting up all of that.
I'm with you now.
So that we could do it. And then we obviously with COVID and with her medical leave, that we didn't get an intern for this year when we were like, well, we'll hopefully maybe try to do it beginning of spring next year, and now I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen with that. So that's probably a discussion we're gonna need to have and figure out. I don't know if it, would be, if how that position goes, if we're gonna bring an intern in, or would it be something that might be better to work with somebody
So do you know
individually to
any-
get it finished and set up?
Do you know of anybody that could help you with this?
I could reach out to,
Not trying to put you on the
yeah, no,
spot.
Lynn County, which is who we were in Jones. Lynn County was the main one we were working with. So I'll reach out to them and see if maybe they know of anybody that could help us finish it up
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Cause it got started and I
hate
do
to-
not know GIS. I mean, like, I'm an end user for sure.
Well, you
So-
just hate to leave it hanging.
I know, and I would like to get it
Well, you
done.
have 52 septic systems. That's where, I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so you mean like, let's use Thomas. I'll use him as an example. Has he moved on to?
He went, last I heard, he was going back to, school.
Oh, I have
For
heard
law
that too.
school.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened
Okay.
with everything in
Yeah.
COVID, and I haven't
Okay.
talked to him in a long time, so I'm not sure.
Well, I guess that's what I'm like, I sit here and I'm like, well, we've got 52.
Well, and we would definitely have to have somebody
Yeah.
who knew how to use it, because I will not be able to help them at all with that. That is definitely outside my bailiwick.
Yeah, we just do some
We need to
research on
really-
that.
yeah, we need-
There's,
Well, check
I'll
with
ask-
Lynn County, see what they have to say,
Okay.
and maybe some of your associates and other counties.
Even,
Because
even,
I
the
would love to be able to use it, because I mean, that was.
even the
we were hoping to get that
colleges,
going.
I would think,
Well, that's why I wondered, we should reach out to some of our local colleges and see if there's somebody in the IT department that could.
Yeah. That could, we could give them a project to do, and it would definitely not want to be like more, because definitely won't be able to mentor them or help them like Heather was able to.
Right.
So we'll want to try to get somebody who knows what they're doing. and
Just see what you can do.
Okay, I'll talk to Lynn County to start.
Yep.
And see what we can come up, because, yeah, I'm kind of like you. I don't want to, I mean, we have it there. We have that potential of moving forward and getting that. And I think it would be very helpful if we could do that.
I just thought of that when I was sitting here and I'm like, wow, okay, so we just need to talk about it. and-
Yeah. And so that would work. And then, yeah, we'll have to, when you guys know more about what's going on with that position and stuff too, we can know more. But anything else you guys have for me? I know it's been a while.
I don't
so-
know. I mean, I read over the minutes and I read over the report and, yeah, no, I think you're on the right track there and I appreciate everything you're doing there and trying to keep up and working through the heat with us.
Right, yeah, that was pretty miserable, but, and I was gonna
I guess
say,
the only thing I'd say, we did have a couple emails from people that were upset that you hadn't gotten back to them at a certain amount of time, so I would just recommend that you try to get back to them as quickly.
I'm all
quickly as
caught
you
up with everybody, or I should be. If
Yes.
they've left me a message, I should be all caught up with people.
can. That's good.
Definitely, I can tell you, like, I know we originally talked like, hey, let's try to do it within 24 hours. It's generally my game plan is the same day or the next day. There were a few weeks there where it was, I mean, I know I spent one day where it was 6 hours completely out in the field. And so sometimes it's a couple days this time of year. That's what I'm finding. It's first year that we're having that. So yeah, I try to get back to them as soon as I can. 24 hours is my ideal time. But I have noticed this year it's been 24, or I mean, I would say maybe 48, even 36 hours. And if I miss somebody, let them know just to reach back out and leave a message, because I have a lot of people that I get a lot of like hangups, or I get like, that's too long of a message and they don't leave me a name or a number. So if they just let them know to leave me a message.
Okay,
And so, and I try not to miss emails, but occasionally it does happen. So
it does. I'm guilty of that too.
yeah, it's like you get a bunch of them coming through and you think you get them and you're like, oops. So yeah, if you have anybody, just tell them to reach out to me and I'll get
Okay.
back to them. Oh, and then if you guys are good with it, I figured like I'll keep sending you the minutes for the Board of Health.
Perfect.
Okay, and then so that we have a regular schedule of me coming in, how about the week after the Board of Health? Then we do one here, if that works for you guys.
That's fine.
Okay, try
I
to
like
keep it,
And in your minutes, usually it'll say that you've given a report.
Okay.
If you'd attach what you reported to your board.
oh, that's
Okay.
usually this.
Okay,
And then, but
Interesting.
sometimes like when the agenda goes out, usually we have all of that ahead of time, this last meeting. we all didn't. So
Okay,
I know Michelle didn't have hers and I sent mine out that day. But yeah, I'll make sure that you guys get that too.
because that gives us a synopsis of what your work schedule has been and what you've done, and
Absolutely.
that's important to know.
Yeah, and I do know there's quite a, we track, I'm gonna say permits, and we track certain things, but it isn't really a very good indicator of everything I do, because I'm not tracking necessarily inspections and consults and things like that. So there's a lot of things that I've realized that don't get tracked, and it's, hard for me to say, yeah, I've been out doing this, but I don't really have any good tracking mechanism. So I am working on that because it makes it better for me as well. So. but yeah,
Well, we
but
could put a tracking device or something of that.
Oh, you can do that, yeah. I need one that I could literally just push a button, like new project, you know what I mean? Like, oh, now we're doing this. But, okay.
Appreciate your
so
report,
much.
and yeah, well, as long as we keep updated, that's all we need.
That sounds good. And let me know if you guys have any questions at all or anything comes up, just let me know.
And you
Yep.
let us know about Lynn County for,
I will,
okay.
I will. So, all right, thanks you guys.
Thanks, Kimberly. And I see we have a, Ben Kober, our Jackson County zoning administrator. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Okay. Last night, the zoning board of adjustment met. We had one item requiring action on our agenda. That was variance application B-20. So per chapter 2, section 17 of the Jackson County zoning ordinance, I want to submit a written report of the actions taken. I've also provided application materials, findings of fact, and staff comments as presented last night. Last night had the public hearing on variance B20. The applicant, Lauren Banowitz, owner of property addressed at 38618 308th Street, that's rural Bellevue. Owner of lots 1 and 2 of Lauren Banowitz first edition, requested a variance in order to construct a 60-foot deep by 105-foot long warehouse as an accessory to the existing floor covering business on lot 1, and then also a 50-foot deep by 75-foot long storage unit building on the west portion of lot 2. There should be some images or documents in it that kind of show where the building footprint is going to be. Combined, consider this to be a roughly 180-foot long by a 60-foot deep structure, kind of tucked in on the north portion of lot 2 there. The reason for the variance, applicant requested a 5-foot setback from the west property line. That would be from the storage unit portion of the structure, and then a 12-foot 7-inch setback from the entire building to the rear property line. If you kind of go through some of these documents I included, I think it's towards the back, you can see the surrounding land uses. This one, I printed front and back.
Yeah.
Kind of drew that in on Beacon. To the rear, owned by Greg and Gail Mickles, is the cornfield right now. To the west, where the 5-foot setback, and that's the variance, that is Keith Haxmeyer's property. So right now he's got some storage units on his property, pretty far away. If you notice on the southwest portion of this lot 2, one that's kind of shaped like I guess the state of Nevada, how I best describe that. There is a drainage ditch that runs northwest to southeast, and then you can see the culvert going under 308th Street there. So, that's almost entirely on Mr. Banowitz's property there. Main reason for the variance is, to avoid building in that area. So that's why Amy wanted to try and see if you could get that variance. So let's see here. Following the public hearing and discussion concerning the application, Board of Adjustment passed a motion to approve the variance as presented, no modifications. This was motion was made by Dave Kendall, seconded by Mike Nixon, and it passed with all 5 members supporting the motion. Only other person in attendance was Mr. Banowitz. We did not have any written comments from members of the public. and we had no calls from any neighboring property owners leading up to this meeting. So this variance will officially take effect on October 5th of this year. That's 21 days after the Board of Adjustment makes their decision. So, I guess ball's kind of in your court as far as potentially remanding this for additional consideration, scrutiny, and review by the Board of Adjustment. So I think looking ahead, I think September 29th would be the last meeting date we'd be able to do that. So just exactly 2 weeks from now. I don't expect anything, I guess, new to come in. And,
I guess.
I
I
don't see an
any
issue
reason
with
to
any of
remand
it.
at all.
If Keith don't have an issue, there ain't, nobody's gonna have an issue, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think, the findings of fact are there. I did have a PowerPoint, and my findings of fact were sent out before the weekend. But, just kind of thinking about it, one concern I did point out, and I don't think it's much of a concern, is this is a 26-foot high building with a, 12.5, roughly 12.5 feet off the rear property line. It's probably another 5 feet to the cornfield. A 26-foot high building could potentially cast a shadow, in the late fall, winter, maybe early spring, and onto the agricultural field. But during the peak growing season, when corn's going to need heat, humidity, and full sun, it's going to get that full sun. So I think.
But that's to the north. Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
So when it's in the summer, like the sun's straight above, more or less, and there's not going to be a shadow at all. So, and you can kind of see from the picture that's. I don't know when our last beacon photos were taken. I always feel like it's maybe 4 years ago, in kind of in the spring.
Probably the 2016. We're working on getting the 2019s uploaded.
So you can kind of see, like, even in that springtime, it really wasn't, it's not much concern. It's never been, because the existing building is the same height, but it's not as close. So I don't think it's, that's not really something. The only thing it would impact is maybe the soil back there would retain a little more moisture in heavy rain. It'd evaporate less quickly, and maybe in the early spring, when we still got some snow accumulations. One of those things where I try to think of everything, in my report, and it doesn't quite occur to me until about 2 hours before the meeting. Finalizing my report.
Looks good.
The board. So.
I don't see any reason to remand it, and I think we should just move ahead.
Yeah, so I guess future board meetings, our next regular one would be on October 12th. We don't have any applications at this time. We've got about 10 days to still receive those up until September 25th. Typically we've met as needed, so if we don't have an application, we typically haven't had a meeting. But I guess I was curious, has things with Zoom or GoToMeeting gone pretty smoothly? Never have any drops in connection?
We haven't had an issue, I don't think, at all.
The only time I've had an issue is when I was with Des Moines, and it was last week, two meetings, and I couldn't get any sound.
Okay. And how many,
Other than that,
yeah, how many people were attending that were part of that?
well, our mental health, there's usually 30 or 40.
Okay, so a lot more than we'd ever,
Oh, yeah.
because we.
There's never less than 5.
Okay, yeah, so.
The other one, it was hard to say, but there was probably a lot of participants.
Yeah, because I think, we had the one meeting that got canceled, kind of had to cancel because of the derecho. Didn't have any power here, and, we probably could have met out in the parking lot instead. And I didn't really think of doing that, but, we'll look into doing that, because we did have one member who had to, on short notice, just call in. And we said, well, I don't know if I trust the internet, it could drop out at any point, maybe there's differences between the middle of the day and doing it at 7:30.
I've never had a problem.
Okay.
Sometimes I have to have Luann get me on.
Right, with the scramble to get on, but yeah.
Yeah,
You either got Zoom, or you've got Google, or you've got
Go to meeting.
meetings, you got all these different ones, and the state
Yeah.
uses something different than somebody else, and thank God we have Bjorn that can get us all programmed in, so it's gone really much smoother than I thought.
yeah, and I think with that, I do like being able to have the PowerPoint on, the projector, but even then you can share screen with everybody, and people can just see that. So I think it's one of those things where I'm thinking, at some point, the Board of Adjustment is gonna have another contentious meeting. You know, we've had probably 3 or 4 in a row where the only person showing up is the applicant, but
Sure.
you know, what's gonna happen when, even in the community room, even if we try to social distance, you know, there's probably gonna be people who will insist on being there. And, you know, I think having that Zoom capability, but you know, it is also one of those things where maybe the dynamic changes when they're trying to make a motion or make a decision or hear comments, you know, maybe, you know, hopefully it seems like we'd be able to handle that. So, other than that, I think things went pretty smoothly, and I think the new board members are engaged and interested in doing things. So
Good.
Sorry, you're playing my music for the Oscar these days. So, okay, that's all I have as far as things going on here.
Okay.
So, yep.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I see Tim and Jim are on, but they're in a work session. We need to almost finish our meeting, correct, before we go into the work session?
No, I mean, you can still, as far as I'm concerned, if everybody's on.
I would take them and.
Okay.
Yeah, I will yield.
Tim and Jim and Nick, are you all available at this time?
Tim is.
So am I.
We don't want you guys waiting and taking up your day here, and we know you got work to do, so. If you guys, actually, we are in a work session now with Tim Cottle and Jim Bravette.
Yes.
Am I close?
That's right. You got it.
They, with Clinton Community College, and Nick Hockenberry here from the Jackson County Economic Alliance Director. And we're discussing the program training incentive for, it's called 25 and 25, correct?
That is correct. And our 25 and 25 program was put together starting basically the pandemic kind of put us in a situation where we had a lot of people that were unemployed or temporarily laid off, mostly in the retail and the restaurant segment. That was the initial thought process behind it, and how could we address their needs to find out about potential employment in the area. We worked very closely with our Jackson County partners, the Jackson County Economic Alliance, the Preston Growth and Development, Maquoketa Chamber, and the Bellevue Area Chamber of Commerce as we put this together. It was really to address the problem that our area manufacturers need a trained workforce in a workforce period. The potential workforce is unaware of the opportunities that are available in the manufacturing sector, and or they do not have the necessary skills to fill the open positions, or the confidence that they could fill the open positions. So we've been addressing this problem and looking at this problem for the last 10 years, I believe. It's something that's been recurring over and over and over again. And we look at this as a way to have a new approach to address a problem that has been long-lived. And it's to provide an avenue for the potential workforce of all ages to gain an understanding of potential careers in the manufacturing sector. Just what are those jobs available? And provide an easy access to an online introductory learning platform to do that. And provide easy registration, removing the barriers to employment. So we tried to remove the barriers to how to actually take the training, as well as the time commitments and the money. So in doing so, I'd like you to take, in your head, step back and think back to when you were younger and you went to the swimming pool. Did you go stand on the high dive?
I won't do that now.
And look at it and just go, okay, I'm going to dive. It's really scary for those that have not been in school recently, for those that have experienced ups and downs in their careers. or their lives. And they may not have even been successful the first time at school. And here we are putting them on high dives. We have the long-term training programs available, but you have to have the confidence before you go jumping off the high dive. Now think back to when you were learning to swim. Our parents took us into the wading pool and we kind of walked in. We knew what the temperature of the pool was. We had an understanding of what water felt like. And then we gained confidence as we learned to swim. And I think back to when I taught my kids to swim in the water babies classes, it was an introductory period. We didn't throw them off the high dive. So this is a way for us to give them confidence in what they do. And so what exactly is 25 and 25? Why is it called 25 and 25? It's 25 classes that take about 25 hours. They're 1 hour bits. And it's intention. And I talked to a potential student this morning who signed up out of the Clinton area. And it was exactly that. I have 3 hours of time to give. I can do this in 1 hour increments. That's all I have to do. Then I can do the next piece and the next piece. So there's not a high risk. So they can actually go in there and take 3 classes, takes about 3 hours, and they've learned something. Even if it's, I don't want to do that, they now know that that's not potential of, I could have done this or I could have done this. And it's actually, they actually know other people and they may say, I don't like this, but someone else may like this. So this is more of a slow, gradual case of building up people to enter our training programs. And they're offered online, so we typically, you don't have daycare issues, you don't have, I have to go there, those type of things. And again, it's free to the participants with limited paperwork. And it's laid out in 3 sections. There's a manufacturing awareness with 3 introductory courses or classes. Introduction to assembly, which is the first entry-level position in most manufacturing plants. Forklift safety or powered industrial truck safety, which 95% of the plants have forklifts in them. And they're going to have to take these safety orientation classes at the organization they go to work for. And then supply chain. And we all know what the supply chain now means. And in Jackson County, we have a very large distribution center, but we have all of our manufacturing plants have stuff comes in and stuff leaves. And the raw material has to come in to get manufactured, and it has to get shipped to wherever it's ultimately going to be used or to the next place. So if they're making parts for John Deere, it has to get shipped to the correct John Deere plant. So supply chain is everywhere in Jackson County. So those are the first 3 classes, and I want to say 95% of the participants so far have completed level 1. They like the fact that they can get on there and understand a little bit about what they're going to do or what they would be doing. The next 10 allow them to get a manufacturing awareness certificate. And again, these are continuing education certificates from the college, so they will be earning a credential from our community college. And those classes get more into some of the more advanced introductory classes, CNC, welding, additive manufacturing, and industrial maintenance. And again, all of those jobs are in short supply, but pay very nice entry-level wages. And they complete those 10, they've got that certificate, and then we stack it on top of that. And should they decide to finish the final 12, they would get a manufacturing fundamentals certificate, which is recognized through Tooling U, which is our online learning platform that we've partnered with. But also the area manufacturers have said now they've proven that they can complete something. They will go, they will do, and they will complete. So they earn that certificate. So in the end, they actually have 3 certificates that show they're aware. Now, at any point in time, we can move them to an advisor or recommend one of our area manufacturers, we can refer them to that. So they can go to work while they're still taking these classes. They can go on to start the paperwork into entering one of the training programs at our college at the same time they're finishing this program. So the goal is not necessarily they're totally going to be top skilled workers in the manufacturing plant. What it is giving them awareness of what jobs are, where they can go, how they can do this, and also gain confidence that they can actually take and pass a college class in very small chunks. It's not the same thing with the diving board. You don't have to go to 16 weeks of class. This is 3 weeks a day, three times a week for 16 weeks. It's, I have to go once. I can sit down and take this class in a small chunk. And again, these are everything from robotics to hydraulics to machining to forklift operator. And we've partnered with Tooling U, which was worked through Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland, the Haas group, those that are into auto racing, Gene Haas, Stuart Haas Racing. The Haas is one of the major machining manufacturers in the nation. They worked with that community college to build an online program for machining. They've since worked through, as they realized that there was all kinds of other opportunities within that, and actually worked through the Manufacturing Skill Standard Council. So now we've got third-party certification opportunities as well. So that's the program. And how do they register? Usually when you think about going to college, you think of, okay, I got to fill out financial aid forms, I got to fill out applications, I've got to do a bunch of hoops. With this, they email the college representative right now through the pilot. That was me. I would talk to each of the potential applicants. Again, about 85–90% actually wanted to go on. About 10% realized this wasn't for them right there in that screening call. Have about 15-minute conversation. We then register them, and the classes are assigned, and they get 3 classes. Not 25, not a whole long list of things again, we want them in the wading pool, not the diving board. But we register them for those 3 classes, and we ask them to get those done in 15 days, 2 weeks. And typically speaking, if they're not going to be going, if they can't do 3 classes, 3 hours and 15 days, we actually reassign that seat. So in that case, we've even protected ourselves on the cost point of view. We reassigned that seat. We worked it with Tooling U so that we could reuse it as opposed to. So again, we've tried to mitigate our risks as well. With this. But again, that's it. There's no cost to the participant except their time and their energy. With us, we've worked through this because we believe that if we can get 20–30% of the folks to really realize what they could do, this is one avenue to build our workforce generation up. One of the most successful groups has been those that just graduated high school, or those actually this summer that were juniors, rising seniors, to understand what they wanted to do going forward after they graduated. Now for them, they didn't have the struggle of the schooling because they've been in school. The adults coming back, there's a little bit more work we have to do with them because they may not have been in school recently. That high school group wasn't the intended first audience, but it has been a very valuable learning experience for us because this is giving them, while there's still time to make decisions about what they're going to do with their lives, that manufacturing is a very viable option. And that means they would stay home here in Jackson County. And at the Clinton Community College Maquoketa campus, we realized some people don't have computers. This was one of those things as the pandemic was going, we had to kind of understand that those that didn't have computers, we would hold off until we had the ability to get them into libraries, into our college campus. We have computer availability by appointment here. They can come in just like they can take college Zoom classes and come in into one of our testing rooms or one of our classrooms with social distancing, and they can take those. And we also have student services and advising available here at Clinton Community College in Macokota. So they can actually have a person that they can see and talk to as well. So they have me, they have Zoom capability, they have the ability to come in, but we also have student advisors to refer them to. And that referring to a student advisor for career options, career opportunities and things, now we've opened up one more avenue where they have a relationship. Before it's, do I just go into the campus? Now they have a relationship with someone with the college, and those dialogues can occur. And I think those are the things that this program offers and does that's very unique. It's something that we have not done before. We've actually seen that we may be pursuing other career fields even as we go forward. Now, we just piloted this because we had to understand how we were going to do the intake, how we were going to do the management of the LMS, how we were going to manage the registration process. And our economic development department and our community sponsors came up with seed money, so to speak, so we could get those first pilot students in there. We're embarking on Manufacturing Month, which is the month of October. And we intend to have a tremendous push now that we understand our internal processes and can handle the influx of students. There's nothing worse than having students and not service them. That is detrimental. So now we know we've tested this process. We've actually piloted it in Jackson County, Clinton County, and Davenport. So now we know that we've got varieties of clientele, varieties of workforce to work with, and we're ready to go. And we were approached by a company that saw this and said, hey, we want to be aware and talk to your folks that graduate from this program. How can we help pay for this? And that's where the idea of sponsorships came up, is that's how we could continue it. Now we're also pursuing grants, a number of grants. We've got several in the works. But if we're going to actually have a widespread, say we get 30, 40 people in Jackson County with a 30, 40% success rate, that would put 10, 12, 14 people into our workforce that aren't there now. So again, and then that would go on as in perpetuity, as so to speak, is when you get these programs going and rolling, it then becomes a norm. And so this is one way. It's not the silver bullet. It's one way for us to increase our workforce generation out to our area employers. It also, if we were to get sponsorships, so to speak, and the sponsorships allow us to use PACE and GAP training dollars for the more advanced training. So for instance, they finish this program, they can enter the welding program in October here, that we've got the welding class starting in October, production, ready to work production welding in the evening, or they can take it starting in January. So if they start this program in October, it's going to dovetail perfectly to a January start in the welding programs. And in our other programs, and we've kind of aligned this with our credit programs as well. And so a $2,500 sponsorship would provide training to 10 Jackson County residents in this program itself. And so that's what we're here for. That's what Nick and Jim and I are presenting for. So
well, myself, I guess I think it's a fantastic program. I think along with in the past 8, 10, 12 years, you know, the technology boom got out there, and every guidance counselor was telling high school kids that they had to have a 2 or 4 year degree. I don't think that's the case. We're certainly looking for trade businesses, and manufacturing got pushed under the bus a little bit, you know. I think and the best part about it, it's free.
Well, you got that, plus, you know, the internship programs that they're forming. I just think there's lots of opportunities that young adults have now that they didn't have before.
So in years past, you know, when you went into a manufacturing or applied for a job, yeah, you kind of learned on the job about driving a forklift and other things, you know, lose a couple tips of fingers before you figured it out, you know. So it's one of them programs that's very informational to individuals. I guess my question is, how do we get this, what's the program doing to get this all into our schools, our high schools, our, you know, younger people, even at sophomore age, to get them interested, you know?
Nick?
Well, I can say we've done our work to make the high schools, I guess, aware of this program, because it is, you know, kind of the timing, I suppose, of the rollout of this worked well in that more and more educational opportunities are moving to this virtual format, and it's self-directed, which allows those who have an interest to kind of dip their toes in, I guess, initially. But yeah, we continue to reach out as part of our work with manufacturer awareness programs in general, highlighting the opportunities that are available here in the county and elsewhere, just in the manufacturing industry. I do think that there's more to do, and maybe to that point, to some of the younger grades, to start that interest earlier. We're working on this year for our manufacturing month in October to offer some virtual opportunities here that might be available to some of the lower classmen in high school. And in the future might be an opportunity to reach down into the middle school to start finding interesting ways to highlight manufacturing and entrepreneurship and some other business-minded elements to those grades as well. But there's work to be done, but I think this manufacturing awareness program, the 25 and 25, is a good tool for us to have going forward.
And Mike, to answer that too, our schools had so many challenges just to get started this year.
Get
to
it.
throw the curriculum, but that is, I think January is an excellent starting point. And I know the Future Ready Iowa grants we're applying for, those fundings are there so as well. So, you know, that's district wide. And so we want to make sure we have, when we sit there and say this is free, we want to make sure we have the ability to continue to offer it free. Because I think, as you pointed out, that is the #1 barrier to someone trying something. Now, I also believe there has to be skin in the game after a little bit. And so that's where this comes in, is the ability to get them the toe in the water where we're funding it and they're investing time. The second step is they're investing time and some money. And we're taking those monies that for advanced training. I think the other thing our employers are looking for is evidence that somebody is willing to do a little bit of legwork before they hire them. They may have had different difficulties at their previous work, and now they come through and they sit there and go, I finished this. I took my time and I did this on my own to get a little bit more. And I think employers look at that and go, okay, they deserve a chance, you know, through these things, because we are what we were until we change. And the ability to actually complete, when I don't see the smile, and that's one of the things I don't like about this virtual environment as much, you don't see the smile of that person that finished it. When I talked to that gentleman that finished this and is embarking down at the Blanc Technology Center, he was at Danforth, that he has a new life now. That is something that you can't really put words to. That this actually changed his life. And I think that's where some of our participants in Jackson County are working in the manufacturing industry, and believe it or not, don't know the other parts of the manufacturing industry. So I was stunned that they're actually working in manufacturing and don't even know what machining really is. So they've got a different avenue to go to. Now that's a little bit difficult because that employer probably doesn't want to lose their employee. But when you look at people advancing and growing, that's one of the most important things we can do as a college and as a community. I think Manufacturing Month is our opportunity to truly push this into the high school students, into teachers using it for extra credit, encouraging students to do it, guidance counselors to do it. And with hope, it becomes into their actual curriculum of their manufacturing fundamentals classes next year. Now, I don't know how long it takes education to get through processes. It was a minor miracle that we got all of this done in 3 to 4 months. We bypassed a lot of the normal modes, but we were in expedition mode, expediting it to be piloting this and actually be through the pilot in September when the concept hit in April, and we actually had our first enrollees in late May. That's not typically done in education, but we've moved this forward. I think we can do the same thing with the high schools.
Well, I think it's invaluable for the young people to have these opportunities. Not everybody goes to a 4-year college or even a junior college. And if you can do something to improve their work skills, I mean, it's invaluable to them and to the community.
You know what manufacturing has, how it's come along in the last 20 years, you know, it's not foundry work anymore. It's clean environment and safe environment and decent work, you know. So it's not for everybody, but again, how do we know until you try or see, you know, what's available?
Well, and it dovetails in, and I don't want to vary too far, but if we're going to utilize our college here in Maquoketa, we've learned so much about virtual training where we could have virtual training, but actually have certain days of the week where that training is available in Maquoketa as opposed to, but again, for us, it's a concentration of students. Otherwise we can't use, you know, we have budgets just like the county has budgets. And if you've got $40,000 of instruction cost and $10,000 worth of tuition, we wouldn't be in business very long. So again, it's a concentration, but by doing this, we should have more people wanting to take those advanced classes here. The more people taking advanced classes here, including additional high school academies, if that's possible too, machining, electrical, and those type of things. You then have built a workforce and a continuum so that we can grow. It's one thing, you know, we can build buildings and we can buy equipment and put them in the buildings, but you have to have students that understand what it is out there for them to do and actually recruit them into it. And having those, that's why the Manufacturing Month and what JCAA does is so critical to Jackson County is that awareness piece, that this is one more awareness piece that we can do to build this workforce.
Yep, I agree. Well, it's a fantastic job, guys, and hope it moves forward for you and in a positive way, and it works out.
We definitely thank you for your time and support.
Yeah, I'll just say Tim has some amazing stories with the students that he's spoken with, and the impact this program has had on their lives, and it's just been so fun, so enjoyable working with all of the different counties and chambers and communities. Nick's been a huge supporter of the program, and every step along the way, we just see the major impact that the program's having. And so thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of your meeting today.
Thank you, and we will continue to discuss it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Okay. Lisa? We have Lisa Smith, our Jackson County Auditor, with her business.
Motion is needed today to approve the minutes of the September 8th, 2020 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorize publication in official newspapers.
So moved.
Second, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the September 8th, 2020 board proceedings as written. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $486,047.78.
Note that 370,000 of that is secondary roads.
I think we got a couple new pieces of equipment, it looked like.
Yeah.
And
Well, to break it down a little bit, yeah, we had two new pieces of equipment. We had $120,000 in striping that was paid.
Yeah.
We had some bridge planking and also a lot of concrete patching. So it's all improvements. So
yeah, a lot of work being done.
moving
That's what
forward.
it's for.
Time of the year.
This is the time of year to do it.
Get her done.
Oh, the sunshine. Yeah, sunshine now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I move approval of the claims.
Second, I have a motion and a second to approve the warrant issue and claims listing in the amount of $486,047.78. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to accept and place on file the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting minutes for September 3rd, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve the Veterans Affairs Commission meeting minutes for September 3rd, 2020 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion needed to approve resolution number 776-09-15-2020 to disperse $94,695.78 in federal flood control revenues collected from leased property along the Mississippi River as recorded in Resolution Book 4. And as you'll see, my side note is that last year we did collect $92,828.59. So it is up slightly this year.
I move approval of resolution 766-09-15-2020.
I would second that motion. And I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 766-09-15-2020 as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
We also need a motion this morning to approve resolution number 767-09-15-2020 to request reimbursement for eligible costs related to the COVID-19 public health emergency from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund.
So moved.
Second, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 767-09-15-2020 to reimbursement for eligible costs for the COVID-19. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
That's all that I have for the board today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And is,
So I understand that your mailbox has been busy.
You know, yesterday was a very busy day. I can tell you that, I know that yesterday mid-morning we had about 3,150 absentee ballot requests. I'm gonna guess that we probably had 400 in the mail today. Tuesdays are always a light day for mail. There wasn't that many today. I saw the stack, it wasn't that bad. I suspect that tomorrow and days here on after will be, have a lot of absentee ballot requests. We've been talking to a lot of people. People are coming in the office and that's all good. I really don't know what number we can shoot for when it comes to, you know, how many are going to vote absentee. I think it's going to get interesting. Will we see record turnout? Probably. But who knows, you know?
well, that's good. People participate, you know, let them do it the way they feel comfortable with.
You know,
It's secure and we will,
I talk about comfort and choice all the time. This is really, you know, however the voter feels comfortable and what choices they want to make.
absolutely.
Nope, that's ours. It goes with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna end up at, but it's all good.
It is good. Yep. I appreciate
Keep on
that
your
people.
toes.
You know what?
People are, okay. Keeps you busy, keeps you out of the,
Actually, our first round of election process will start this week because it's called UOCAVA voters. These are people that are uniformed citizens, or it could be uniformed citizens that are not in the country. And so our first day that we have to meet, one of our first deadlines is this Saturday. We have approximately 30 people right now that are not living in the United States. They are living abroad, and they are allowed to vote in this election. So our first set of sending out absentee ballot requests will probably get done on Friday.
Because I know when Jason was in
Yep.
Afghanistan,
Yeah,
Scott County sent him his mail ballot over there.
yeah, no, it's most of that, 99% of that is done via the email system. We do have one person out of that 30 that does want the paper ballot, but that has to go out. Those are handled differently. We have to physically hand that to the post office. We can't just drop it in a box. They have to be physically handed to a postal worker, and they are handled differently through the postal system.
Lots of rules and regulations.
Oh, lots of I's,
so maybe
lots of T's.
briefly, can you tell me how this email thing works? And then you can email them the absentee ballot request?
It is allowed for those people that are in
Abroad.
those situations, yes. As an example, we have people in Italy and Argentina and Australia, Japan. We have people all over the world that are US citizens that are allowed to vote here back in America. And so instead of mailing stuff and back and forth and everything, they are allowed, because of their status, that they can, if they choose, that's their choice again, but if they choose, they can cast their ballot via the email system. And then the absentee team on election day will put that ballot onto an official ballot. And that way it's done by a bipartisan team, so there's not anything, funny going on. It's done by a bipartisan team, and then that ballot is put into the scanner on election day. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Interesting information.
It really
Yeah,
is. I mean,
it
there's
is,
just so
yeah.
many things when it comes to elections.
Well, things changing,
Yeah.
they're changing daily
Yeah.
and keeping up. I
on a
admire
weekly-
you keep up with it.
I'm
That's,
on a weekly, we had our first meeting yesterday. We're on a weekly meeting on Mondays concerning elections. We're directly talking to the Secretary of State. I think there's 117 people on the meeting yesterday, and I think that number is probably going to keep going up as we're talking about taking care of our citizens in healthcare facilities and our UOCAVA voters and our people that are voting here at the courthouse and people that are voting by mail and people that are voting at the polls on election day. So it's a way for us as auditors and employees of the auditor's office to keep talking about what we're doing and what works and what doesn't. And it's just a good sounding board for an hour every Monday.
Okay, another question I have, because we talk about it almost every election. Are you having any problems getting election officials?
No.
Great, okay.
No, you know what? And that's really, we're very fortunate. Honestly, because we are one of the few counties that does not have issues with getting election officials.
Because I know once in a while we'll have
You know,
areas where we are
Yeah.
looking for somebody and
But we work at it all the time. We watch when teachers
well, we certainly
retire.
commend them people too for
They
what they're
do.
doing.
oh,
Yeah.
amen.
So we're very fortunate. And, right now we have what I call the A plan, and we always have to have a backup plan. Somebody's going to get sick. There's a spouse that's going to have a situation or for whatever reason. And I've always told election officials, if you're sick or somebody in your family is sick or you have a situation going on, I don't want you working. I want your mind needs to be where the situation is. And if it's not totally engaged on election day at the precincts, I don't want you working. So unfortunately, even in the June primary, we had a backup plan. We had an election official that was unable to work that day. Mary called me. I was out in the county and she said, so-and-so called. And I said, we'll call the backup plan.
Yeah.
And it works. We prepare for it.
Very
We plan
fortunate.
for it. Yep, we do.
Appreciate that
Yeah.
and appreciate all the work that you do.
That's for sure.
It's in a year that's is unknowns and you're changing daily and you got to keep up with it. And I know you take a few calls a day or a couple messages a day.
I sent my last email last night at 10:14. I was like, okay, now I'm going to quit for the day. So.
And Becky started at about 6 this morning.
Oh, I saw that too. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
we appreciate all you guys do.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
keep it up. May I ask, is this the original or is that?
I have the resolution here to sign.
Okay.
I have the original.
We're good. Okay, Luann. If you're available,
Good morning.
good morning.
All right, calendar for the week. There'll be a few changes as I go. So at 1 o'clock this afternoon is Isaac's 2021 legislative recommendations. That's a go-to webinar. All of you are signed up for that, including Lisa, if you choose to attend. So at 6 o'clock tonight is Jackson County
Yeah.
Economic Alliance meeting by Zoom for Jack.
I may say that you give us a packet on them legislative recommendations, right, earlier on?
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
send out
okay.
that.
Yep.
Yes, the legislative, that's what
Yep.
we're going to be discussing. Sorry, 6 o'clock tonight is Jackson County Economic Alliance for Jack. Tomorrow, September 16th, from 10 to 2, Jack has a workforce fiscal agent training session on Zoom. This is something he's already done once, but they changed a little bit, so they want everybody to come and do it again.
You have to take your lunch?
They give you lunch. They give you a half hour for lunch, wasn't it?
That was last week.
That was last,
For
okay,
our,
but DHS.
yeah, for
Okay.
DHS, we had from 12 to 12:30 for lunch. But it didn't, we had lunch from 12:35 to 1 o'clock.
Maybe you're having virtual lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt me at all.
Okay, Thursday, September 17th at 6 p.m. is Limestone Bluffs RC&D meeting by Zoom for Jack. That is an earlier start time than usual.
Yeah.
Friday, September 18th at 10 a.m. Jack has an Iowa Workforce Office Hours meeting by Google Meet. And then at noon, he has an Iowa Workforce CEO Office Hours meeting also by Zoom. Or that one's by Zoom, actually, for Jack. Monday, September 21st at 10 a.m. There will be a Waste Authority meeting of Jackson County, and Frank did confirm it, so it's no longer tentative. At 1 o'clock now, as an addition, is the Regional Governing Board will be discussing the RFPs, and she did send all 16 of those to me, so I have them printed out for you for that meeting. That will be by Zoom for Jack. And then at 3 o'clock is a Regional Governing Board meeting, also by Zoom. That's the regular meeting, also for Jack. And at 7 o'clock that night is Together We Build for Jack. And that will be here in town at the Farm Bureau or by Zoom, however they set that up. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, September 22nd at 9 a.m. That evening, the Children's Advisory Committee meeting that I have on there, I believe is actually going to be on the 29th. So you can cross that one off. At 5:30 that night is an Operation Review Finance Committee by Zoom for Jack. And at 6:30 is the Operation Review Board meeting by Zoom for Jack and Larry. A lot of stuff going on this week.
Yeah, busy week.
Busy week.
Sunday, Marilyn will say, well, how's your week this week? And I'll say, well, it's gonna be busy. this
You
week."
get that workforce straightened out. You'll settle down well.
As for business today, the only thing I have on here is the resolution for the Operation Review and Haycap merger, which Lisa says we actually approved last week. We just need to get it signed.
Yeah, yeah, so if we put it on resolution paper, so it was approved last week, I'm just seeking signatures today.
So you need a motion for the signature?
It's up to you, but it's already been approved. The resolution was
Yep.
approved last week.
Just have to sign
Okay.
it today.
We can do that.
Yep.
Catch me before I go.
That's all I
And
have.
I'm hoping at our meeting next week, it should be the last meeting of the full board for New View. I did ask Luann last week, forgive me for saying this, but some of the members on the board, I don't know where they're from.
Ooh.
And so I asked Luann to check and see who actually from Jackson County serves on that board. Because there was one of the guys that was on the board. He's not there anymore because he moved. But I found out after he left that he was actually from Jackson County. Didn't know him, had never seen him. But anyway, we have to make an appointment to the Haycap board. And I really want it to be somebody that's somewhat familiar.
Mhm.
And of course, Larry and I are not eligible to do that. And so Luann got the list, and there's only Karen Breitbach and Sarah are the only two from Jackson County.
Yeah.
So I did talk to Kara, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Sarah yet, but Karen was really hesitant. And I think probably part of it is if they would continue to do Zoom meetings and they didn't have to drive to Hiawatha, she might be interested. And the same thing might go with Sarah. So I don't know what will happen if neither of them choose or want to, but they have to apply to the Haycap board for their appointment. I mean, it's not automatic, but Delaware and Jackson will have one appointment each. And so,
So is there somebody else you might have in mind from the Newview operation that might be interested in following through? I know,
honestly, no.
you know. Yeah, I think it's inevitable that these meetings that are in Hiawatha and Muscatine, and I mean, that we are able to do a Zoom meeting. I think that's here to stay. I don't think.
I think it's here to stay for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere soon. I mean, it makes sense, and since I've been here, we've been doing it with the 911 board meetings, and we get good attendance. We
I was
really
just
do.
gonna say, I bet participation is up. When you look at having to drive an hour, go to the.
An
meeting,
hour?
Or what,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I
Right,
think
yeah.
the participation
Yeah.
is up, and I think they take that into
And you can-
consideration.
You can certainly participate in
Yeah.
this type of a meeting. Yes.
So anyway, I'll get a hold of Sarah and talk to her, because we'll have to get an application, have to
And
fill it out.
She may have an idea too, if somebody in the field or.
I guess the whole thing is though, if you aren't familiar with everything that's involved with it,
Yeah,
it would, then to move into Haycap, which is, I think they have 10 counties the way it is now, and then you add our 3 counties on top of that. All of the different programs, it would take a while to get familiar.
yeah, no doubt.
And as long as, I would rather have somebody that is currently on it take that step, and represent Jackson County so that they can come back and let us know. They want to still have an advisory board from our 3 counties, which I guess I'm
What's the
not really
point?
in favor of.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say, what's the
mean,
point?
they're gonna do what they think is right. And I guess basically I can say, I don't need another meeting. If it's not for a purpose, if it's just to discuss, I don't need that. And so I don't know what'll happen, but I will talk to Karen and I will talk to Sarah. But when I started this whole conversation, I'm hoping we will find out if there is any remaining debt.
I was gonna ask you that. I wondered if that had been discussed yet.
Well, we talked about it last month, but they wanted to finalize some additional figures where we were at that point still waiting to hear from the Head Start in Kansas City
Mhm,
about the debt that we had with them, if that was going to be a forgivable debt.
mhm.
And so until we find out from them, and it's we're supposed to be able to wrap this all up by October 1st.
No, we talked about this a year ago.
Yes,
Think about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean,
And we'll see, the thing that I can't believe is that CDI actually started Head Start when Haycap was gonna take over October 1st. I didn't think they were in session until somebody said, well, I guess I said, we want to get the new flooring before the classroom starts. And they said, well, they're already having classes.
yeah, by the time we knew that, they
You
were
know,
already there.
you
2
could have
weeks, I
blew me
think.
over with a feather just
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
And I said, they are? And they said, yeah, that CDI had started the classes in mid-August. So anyway, as soon as we know something.
I actually think Tim Cottle did a very good analogy with using the whole swimming pool. If you think about your new members on this new Haycap board, they're on the diving board. If you get,
Well, I was
so
thinking.
it's
when he was-
nice that these people have walked through the wading pool, through the shallow end, and I get it. It makes sense.
Well, we was talking about that, and he was talking about having sessions for high school kids. I thought, hell, they wouldn't hesitate to jump off the
No,
dive.
no. Yeah,
Some of us would,
Yes.
I don't even get my toe in.
but no, that's gonna be an important meeting
Yeah.
next week. I'm sorry Larry's not gonna be there, but I'll talk to those two and see what they say and go from there.
Appreciate
Larry
that
might zoom
update,
in,
yeah.
it Depends.
Huh?
He
Are
might
you-
zoom in for that meeting. It just depends on where
Oh,
he's at, so.
Sure.
Are you eligible?
I check on that.
Okay. Any other, we don't have a budget work session, no? That's just on there?
It's just
Yep,
on there.
yep,
because
no, in
had-
case
had
we need to
time
just-
built in, so.
In case we need to discuss everything, yeah, I mean, I think only other thing that we discussed with Todd there, I mean, that's a good thing to look over and decide, it
I think the
certainly has to do with
information
him.
we get from him is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it's very informational anyway.
Yep,
yeah,
it
that's
sure
for sure.
is. Information we've not had in the past.
Any other reports? I guess I can report a little bit on the generator at the care facility. That is up and going, so.
That looked like good news to me.
Yeah, the filters, he's been really an asset to us to go out there. The filters were plugged, they changed the filters and they got that and they figured it was still running recycling way too many RPMs. So there was a sensor that was bad and they ordered the sensor, which was really reasonable, cost wise, and they installed that. Well, in the meantime, the day tank that sits inside of that feeds from the large tank, it run constantly. So apparently he checked that out while he was there too. I asked him if he could and he did. And he said there was a check valve that allows the fuel that don't go back into the tank that wasn't checking. So our check valve wasn't checking, so it was going back and it was running constantly, trying to fill up and it was going back into the tank. So he got that fixed too. So we're all in compliance the way it looks. It's up and running. Jared said it hasn't been kicked out since, so we got fairly lucky, I would say. We had the generator was down a little bit while the high winds and storms that we had, so
Yeah,
good thing on that. So that's good
good
news.
news.
Finally.
I have not
Once
heard,
in a
and
while-
I
I was gonna say, once in a while we get good
I
news.
don't know, Lisa, if you have heard anything. I've not heard anything about our sprinkler inspection and or report, so I haven't heard anything
I
yet.
really would have thought that we would have heard around the 1st of September here, that we would have gotten a bill or a report or something, but I think this is one of those things that we just don't want to pass on. We don't want to forget about,
Right. Right.
because I think we do need to move.
No, we
forward.
surely don't want to set it aside, and we have a 50-year inspection coming up, and we want to follow up with that, so we need to be in compliance, so.
I actually think we have some plans here too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. So, and I did hear, I guess it would follow up a little bit with our jail facility or our law enforcement facility, whatever you want to call it. I did hear a couple things on KMAQ and I got a couple calls. What's happening? Well, we are certainly working toward a March vote on the bonding and the referendum. And we are working with ECIA and our construction manager on putting some information together to send a flyer out so everybody is informed. And we certainly, my question, I guess, the call I got was, I thought we were waiting until after the election, and we certainly are. We want input from everyone after the election that has some skin in the game there, of course, but we can't wait until January to decide that we're going to put something out. So we certainly have to work toward this.
No, and when I talked to Marla, she's gonna put something together. She's waiting for some additional figures from John. And once she gets those, she's gonna put a rough draft of 2 different kinds. I told her our preference was the one kind, but she may still put together another option for us to look at and review. And then if we need to have her come down or Zoom in, we can do that to finalize what we're gonna do. But the main thing is to get the people informed about how we've
Right.
changed it, what decisions we've made. And they are our decisions as supervisors. We've listened to the sheriff, we've listened to the advisory committee, and this is the option that we three have opted to put before the voters.
And it's a feasible option, I do believe.
I agree it is.
Okay, any other old business, unfinished business? There's always some things that are unfinished, but we will keep up on them.
Well, I'll tell you, my meeting last Wednesday was very interesting. Lots and lots and lots and lots of.
And it could fill us in, what meeting was that?
It was the Human Service Council, where we were approving next year's budget.
Yeah.
They do a 2-year budget cycle. So it was for 22 and 23. But they revisit 23 before they move into it. But it's,
That's an interesting concept.
yeah, it's millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's for all of the programs that Department of Human Services oversees.
I would imagine it would be very complex.
And I was able to ask some questions, wasn't I? I was a
Yes.
little concerned about some of the things with the regional mental health funding and some of the programs that they were talking about. And so it was interesting.
Well, I tell you, that part of it is good to know that they're willing to let you have your input anyway. That's
And
what
I
I like to hear.
And I did talk to them about the MCOs. And we still, at our mental health meetings, we still get providers of services that are unhappy with their reimbursements, the tardiness of them, plus, I said, I mean, they're telling us that they're not reimbursing them at the contracted rate. And why are they not doing that? If the MCOs have, and the MCOs, they're, I believe, I'm not positive because I don't have it here in front of me, but I think the money allocated to the MCOs was like something like $1.7 billion for the programs that they provide or work.
That is.
So, it's not a small amount.
Chunk
It's
of change.
huge.
Yeah.
And I know they are a for-profit organization, so, but I think that if they make contracts with providers of services, they should honor those contracts. And there was, they did give me some information of what our providers could do if they're not being reimbursed at the right rate. So I'll share that with the meeting next week. And because we want our providers to stay in business. And
If you lose them, you have nothing.
It's very difficult sometimes for them to, I mean, it's a big field and they, I don't know, it just upsets me when somebody comes into our state and signs a contract and then doesn't honor it. So, but it was a very interesting session. A lot of people had questions, and when they had the different like the children's welfare and the foster care program and all of that, they had different people that spoke about their specific program. And so that was very enlightening. I learned a lot. And so I still haven't had my orientation. She said she would get back to me and we'd set up a time to have a Zoom orientation, but I said, going over a budget like that, that's quite a bit of orientation right there. So, but it was interesting. I enjoyed it. So I would move we adjourn.
I would second that. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thank you all and have a great day.